Hey guys, I hope y'all are having a great day today. So we're going to be checking out a new concealer. This is the new KVD Good Apple Concealer. So of course this is meant to complement the foundation that came out sometime last year. I know a lot of people did not like that foundation, but I loved it. So I'm really looking forward to trying out their concealer. So I'm going to give you guys my first impressions on it. And then of course we're going to do a wear test and see how it wears on me throughout the day. So let's jump right into it. Okay, my foundation is on, and as you can see, I don't have anything around my under eye area. So normally I would put on a color corrector underneath my brightening concealer. I'm not going to do that today because I really want to test this out on its own. So I'm going to apply it to one eye. I will give you guys my first impressions. Then we'll go over the claims of the product, and I'll let you know if they match up with what I'm thinking about how this product performs. So this is the packaging for those of you who are interested in that, and I am wearing the shade Tan 158. I don't like this packaging because you do get a little swatch of what the color is supposed to be down here, but it's a very opaque packaging, so you can't see the actual color. So let me give you guys a quick hand swatch first. Oh, this is really light. That's Tan 158. I think I can use it, but this might be a little too light, but I got this one because of the undertone, which in case you're new here, I have a cool undertone. I always look for stuff that has pink undertones to it, so that's why I picked this. So let's jump right into applying it. I'm just going to start out with just that much. I just want to see what I'm thinking about in terms of the coverage. I always blend out my under eye concealer with this brush. This is the Rare Beauty foundation brush. I use it for concealer, and I always just like to tap it on to my under eye concealer and blend it out that way and concentrate most of the coverage like right in that inner part of my under eye area, because that's always where I need the most coverage. So I just want to apply this the same way that I would like any other concealer. So right off the bat, it is blending out pretty nicely. I think I'm gonna have to maybe alter the color a little bit, maybe with my under eye setting powder, because it is already looking like a little ashy on me, and I think that's just because of the color that I selected. It's just like too light for me. So I only put on a little bit. I'm not all that crazy about the coverage that I'm getting so far. All right, I zoomed y'all in just a little bit. I'm not crazy about the coverage that I'm getting so far, but I only put on a little bit. So let's see if we can build it up. All right, so I'm gonna go with that amount, and I'm also gonna let this sit for about 10 or 15 seconds. Okay, let's go ahead and blend this out. Okay, so this is looking a lot better with more concealer. So it's giving me better coverage, which is to be expected because I obviously put more of the product on. I would say this is like a medium, I'm gonna say a medium buildable coverage, but compared to some of the other concealers that I usually use, I don't think that this one is giving me the same amount of coverage. It doesn't look bad, but I'm not crazy about it. It's going to be kind of hard to get past the shade of it because I should have gone one shade deeper, I think. But this doesn't look all that bad, and it'll look a lot better when I set it with a powder. But aside from the shade, let me know what you guys are thinking about the coverage. Compared to my Anastasia concealer, which I really like that one. That's like my newest concealer. Anastasia, Rose Ink, Estee Lauder Double Wear, and Too Faced. Those are like the 4 concealers that I like the best right now. I don't think that this one has the same level of coverage as any of those, but the coverage is not bad. So before I move on to the other side, I am going to go on with one more layer. And also keep in mind, like, maybe I'm not crazy about the coverage just yet because I also don't have color corrector on underneath it, so that might be kind of playing with my head a little bit too. But I am going to go in with one more layer. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to let this sit for about 10 or 15 seconds before I blend it out. All right, let's blend out this next layer. I'm also not getting as much product on the applicator because it's smaller. So that right there is going to make me apply less of the product than those other concealers that I mentioned. I always have to compare what I'm seeing on camera to what I'm seeing in the mirror because it does look a little bit different. So one thing I will say that I am liking about this concealer is that each time you go on with another layer, it does look better and better. And like I said, it might be kind of hard to appreciate it because of the shade. Like a lot of times when the shade is off, it just doesn't look right. I'm trying to look past the shade and I'm looking at how it's laying on my skin, the amount of coverage that it's giving me and all of that. And it's actually laying quite nicely. I would say that it's drying down to maybe like a soft matte finish, which I wasn't expecting. The foundation, which I am wearing that, I don't know if I mentioned that, but I am wearing the KVD Good Apple foundation. The foundation has a really nice like natural finish, and it does kind of dry down almost to a soft matte finish, but to me it's more natural. And I feel like the concealer looks just a little bit more of like a soft powdery matte finish compared to the foundation. Like if I were to compare the finish of this concealer to any of those other concealers that I mentioned, this one just doesn't look as creamy and as hydrating, but it also does not look dry. So if you like more of like a softer matte finish for your under eye concealer, I would say that that is what this one is. So let me know what you guys think from eye to eye. The shade I know is kind of off, but I actually like the way it's laying on the skin. The coverage gets better and better with each layer, but I do have some other concealers where I feel like I can get this level of coverage with just like one swipe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the concealer to the other eye, and then I will give you guys the claims on the product, and then we'll see if they match up to what I'm thinking about the product. So the official name of this product is the KVD Good Apple Lightweight Full Coverage Concealer. So it is meant to be full coverage. It's supposed to be hydrating, extremely long wearing with a natural finish. Some of the highlighted ingredients in here are raspberry stem cells, which provide deep moisturization, and apple extract, which is rich in antioxidants and helps nourish the delicate eye area. And apple extract is one of the highlighted ingredients in the foundation as well. It says that this concealer uses ultra concentrated interlaced pigments to seamlessly stretch over the skin for undetectable full coverage. Blemishes and dark circles don't stand a chance. The applicator also mimics your fingertip for precision and a soft touch feel. And this concealer retails for $28 and it's available in 32 shades. And again, I am testing the shade 158. And if you can use me as a shade reference, again, I did get the shade Tan 158 because it has a cool pink undertone, which is the undertone that I have. But I'm looking at some of the other shades here and I'm thinking perhaps Tan 164, which is for tan skin with a warm peach undertone. That might have been a better shade match for me. So keep that in mind if you're using me as a shade reference. Okay guys, and here is what the concealer looks like when I have it all blended out on both under eyes and on the center of my face. So again, let's try not to concentrate on the shade of it too much because this color is too light for me. But in terms of how it's laying on the skin, it doesn't look bad. I think it might look a little bit worse than it is on camera because of the shade. But in terms of how it's laying on the skin, it doesn't look bad. It just doesn't look quite as hydrating as I would like. And you guys know that I have all these lines under my eyes. I do feel like they are a bit more accentuated than normal because this concealer is just not quite as hydrating. With any concealer that I put on, I do try my best to avoid those lines, but it is kind of inevitable that I end up getting makeup like really close to them, and then sometimes the makeup will kind of like fall down into the lines and make it look a little worse. But I just think in general, my under eye area, it just doesn't look as creamy and hydrating as it normally does. But let me know what you guys think about how the concealer is laying on the skin. Definitely not the worst concealer that I've tried, but I was expecting to like it more than I do so far. So lately I've been setting my under eye concealer with my Kosas powder, but today I'm going to try a different one to see if I can offset this color a little bit. So I'm going to go in with my Ben Nye Luxury powder. This one is in the shade Rose Petal, and you guys can see how really nice and pink this is. I'm going to try this to see if that helps with the shade. I prefer setting my concealers, I prefer setting my entire face with a pressed powder, but I don't have any like really pink loose powder, so I'm going to go in with this one today. I'm just going to use my sponge and I'm just going to use the other side that doesn't have foundation on it, and I'm going to pick some up, and then I'm just going to tap off the excess on the back of my hand just to make sure I'm not putting too much powder on the under eye. can you see how the color just automatically got toned down a little bit? Now this color is supposed to have a pink undertone to it. To me, it's not really pulling pink like that, but this powder is definitely like adding some pink to my under eye, and that really helps for me because that is like my natural undertone. I feel like you can still see a little bit of what I would call more of like a yellowish undertone actually. I feel like you can kind of still see a little bit of that peeking through, but this powder to me just made the concealer just look a lot better. So I'm also going to use this powder like on the center of my face, on the other areas where I put that concealer. So this is what we're looking like after we have the concealer nice and set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off the rest of my makeup off camera, then we'll come back so we can start our wear test. Okay guys, here is my makeup for today, and I always put everything that I'm wearing in the description box just in case you are interested. So just to give you guys my first impressions on this concealer before we start the wear test, I don't think that it lives up to its claims in some areas. So it does claim to be full coverage. I do think you can get full coverage from this, but I think you have to build up to that. Compared to some other concealers that I've tried where I can just put on one swipe and get full coverage, I feel like with this one I did have to put on a couple of layers to get it up to full coverage, but I think it's buildable to full if that's what you're looking for. If you don't have as much going on with your under eyes as I do, then you might like this because you just won't need as much product to, you know, get it to the level of coverage that you want. And I'm also kind of surprised at the finish of this because it is claiming to be a natural finish, and to me I feel like it looks more of like a natural matte finish. It doesn't look drying, it doesn't feel drying on the eyes. My skin feels just fine. It's just not as hydrating as I would like for it to look and feel. That's the only thing. Now remember, I did already set the under eye with some powder, so of course that's just going to naturally make it look more mattified. But even before I did that, I just didn't think that my under eyes looked as like creamy and like supple and as hydrating as they normally would with some other concealers that I prefer over this. So this isn't horrible by any means, but I already know that this is not something that I'm going to be reaching for over some of the other concealers that I like a lot better. But we are going to do a wear test, and I'm going to see just how it wears throughout the day. So my plan is to do a check-in at some point. Hopefully I can keep this on for 8 hours, and then I'll come back and give y'all my final thoughts. Okay, so it's just now a little before 9 o'clock. So I'm going to start the wear test now, and then I will see you guys a little bit later on. Okay guys, we are at about 4 hours in right now, and this is what my under eye is looking like. I'm trying to keep my head and the phone kind of at an awkward angle so that you can really see my under eye, and I'm in front of a window so that you can see it in natural daylight. So let me know what y'all think. I think that the concealer looks good, like it's laying really nice on my skin. You can see like those marks on the sides of my nose from my glasses. I wish I had thought to wear my contacts today, but I just didn't think about that. But you know, other than that, I think it looks really good. So like I said, this is like the 4 hour mark, so I'm hoping I can go for another 4 hours, and I'll see y'all later. Okay guys, I am back, and it is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I can't remember if I started at 8 or 9 o'clock this morning, but I know that this is at least a 7-hour wear test. I feel like I started at 9, but it was either 8 or 9 o'clock. So this is what we're looking like. So let me know what you guys think. I did do a check-in that you'll see right before this, and I thought at the check-in, that was kind of like the halfway mark. I thought that my under eyes looked okay, and now I think that they are a little bit worse than they were in the halfway mark. I think my under eyes just look drier than normal. So can you guys see how like this area of my face, it just looks more matte and more dry than the rest of my face because my foundation is starting to get shiny. Now my under eye area is drier than the rest of my face, so I never get as oily here as I do in my T-zone, but for today it just seems like the under eye area is just a little more matte than it typically is. Now in terms of how it's actually laying on the skin though, it looks dry, but it doesn't feel dry. Like my skin feels okay, and it's actually wearing pretty nicely. Like there's no creasing going on. It feels okay. I would consider it a good concealer. It's it's too much of a matte finish for me. So my under eye looks dry, but it doesn't feel drying. So I just want to make that clear. So I would say if you have dry under eyes like myself and you prefer more of like a hydrating, like moisturized, like supple under eye look, maybe proceed with caution with this concealer. But if you're someone who prefers more of a mattified look for the under eye, then you might like this. So those are my final thoughts on this new KVD Good Apple Concealer. So let me know what y'all thought about how it wore on my under eyes for today. And if you tried this out, let me know how it worked for you. So I hope y'all enjoyed the video today. If you did, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel before you head out, and I will see y'all back here for my next one. Until then, take care. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.